The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Good afternoon, sim racing fans, and welcome to an American short track racing staple located inside of Los Angeles County, California. Sits the Irwindale Event Center's Irwindale Speedway, a facility that has been around for so long and has been host to so many great races. Tonight, the Bootleggers take it on for Round 7 of the 2015 Bootleg Racing League Season 2 Championship for the Outlaw Modified Series. It is Round 7 of 11 tonight, the Irwindale 75. Up in the GSRC booth, as always, alongside of myself, Sean Ambrose. My name is Evan Pasoko. Our director is Joe Peak. And Shauna, Irwindale, we had an off week. We're ready. We're on the big oval here in Irwindale because of that progressive banking. Has been host to some very exciting racing in the real world, but is always a wicked one to come to on the sim.
Yes, it is. It's kind of a strange oval. It's kind of almost like a little bit of an egg shape. Turns 1 and 2 are a bit wide and sweeping, and 3 and 4 kind of narrow out just a little bit. Not a whole lot different, but just a small variation there gives it this little unique setup. And they get around here in pretty amazing times for a half mile. They get down in the low 18 seconds. Brian Neff right now in practice in 18.064. So as you see here, pretty fast for a half mile. Comparable to, times you see it like a track like Bristol, which is also a half mile. This is that progressive banking is going to lead to some wide 2 wide, 3 wide, maybe 4 or 5 wide action tonight. I don't know if that's the best choice, but you will see drivers take different lines around this track. Your driving style will dictate your fastest way around this track. So we're in for a real exciting one here tonight, Evan. This speedway, like you said, host to many fabulous races here in the past. It's going to be one to remember tonight.
And, we talk about progressive banking. A lot of tracks, if you're on the NASCAR circuit and you're talking bigger tracks, maybe a 2-degree variance, but it is twice as steep up against that outside retaining wall as it is down low. So a lot of guys going to like the high side. A lot of them, they're going to swing low, sweep high off the corner. And when these guys go to do battles, by the way, there's no fenders on these cars, so contact could lead to some interesting things tonight, but you said there, right, Brian Neff on top of the board, the Winn-Dixie number 60, with an 18.064 right now, top of the pile. Practice just has over 6 minutes or so left in it until we hit the grid, and again, the grid is sent from our top 8 from last week's event, an inversion of that, and then everybody else on in the field would be sent via iRating. There is one driver that we do need to take care of some business that's not going to be racing this evening, Sean, for the second week in a row. There is one driver serving a 1-race suspension, and that is Ronald Henry for over-aggressive driving. We saw the same thing 1 week ago going into Langley, and if you were tuned in, you know what contact we're talking about. Back-to-back late race contacts have led to somebody not making the grid, so Ronald Henry, unfortunately, not going to be in the field tonight.
Yeah, tough break for Ronald, but, it was... it was an aggressive move, to say the least, and, it resulted in a win, but it also resulted in a sit down for this week. So Ronald's going to have to watch this one from the stands and look forward to the next race. But hey, it's a good stand by the league. They've set a precedent here. Got a lot of great drivers in this field, and let's face it, it happens in racing. We see it week in and week out, and that's the decision they made, and they're going to stand by it. And good for the league.
So a speedway that's been around for going on about 16 years now, and it's a half-mile oval with 6 on the bottom, 9 in the middle, 12 up top banking-wise. You're going to see a lot of drivers try different things at the start of the run in comparison to what they're going to be doing at the end of the run. We do have 12 drivers so far that have entered into the sim at the virtual Irwindale Speedway, and so far all of them have put down a time in the practice session. As we start to close in, one name that I'm going to be looking at tonight is Matt Hoos, and interesting that number 21 machine, that's the Jags entry, he just jumped up to 3rd on the board after being about 5th or so, Sean. He is our winner from 1 week ago. He won round 6 at Langley over Ronald Henry, over Michael Holloway. He as well just took home a checkered flag just moments ago in the Crookstill Late Model Series. That event just completed with the Bootleg Racing League. Donnie Moore taking home the top spot in that. And, you talk about Ernest Brown, Tim Knott, Matt Chinosky, Philip Temple. So a lot of drivers doing double duty tonight.
Yeah, and a noticeable non-entry tonight is Hensley. Hensley's not here tonight. Christopher Hensley, who's won a couple of races this season and is sitting 5th in points right now, not in tonight's event. We know he had a kid recently, him and his family, and wish him well, and sorry not to see him tonight.
You talk about the points. Let everybody know where we sit so far through 6 out of 11 races in this 2015 Season 2 Championship. At the top of the pile, entering tonight after round 6 at Langley, is Matt Hoos's machine with 51 points atop the board. Just 2 points behind him, a tie for 2nd with Donnie Moore and Ryan Nuss. And from 3rd on back, Sean, then it gets spread out really for the first time that we have seen all season long. Ronald Henry, almost 7 points off the top spot. He's tied with Hensley for what would be 3rd, but they make up 4th and 5th on the board. This championship picture looked completely different 2 weeks ago. All of a sudden, you have a guy like a Hensley who was at the top of the pile not show up to an event. You have a couple of different results, and, somebody has a bad race, they get in a wreck late. The next thing you know, this entire championship picture looks so different, and Matt Hoos is the only driver inside the top 3 with the win. And we continue to talk about how unique this point system is. Donnie Moore and Ryan Nuss, those drivers inside the top 3, only 2 points behind him without a win so far.
Well, and a couple of guys back there that don't have a win, or even one win at this point, like a Lowell Jewell, are not out of this championship hunt at all. I mean, all they need is a win to get themselves up the points ladder tonight. No guarantee a Hoos or a Moore or even Ryan Nuss are going to be up at the front tonight. So it would serve someone well to get themselves off the schneid tonight and get themselves a win.
And beating somebody by 1 spot in this series, unless it's for 1st and 2nd, is rarely going to cut it for you. The way it works is if you walk away atop the pile, going to be 10 points towards your championship count. 2nd through 4th position, actually all the way 2nd through 5th, going to get 9 points. Then 3 more spots from there on out, going to get 8. 3 more from there on out, going to get 7, 6, all the way down through a maximum field of 20 plus cars or so. 12 of them in the event tonight. So we've seen events where our championship leader doesn't show up, Sean. Somebody looks like they have it in control. They get in a late race wreck. They fall to 12th. Although it is only 3-4 points, it's a huge difference, really, when we talk about how tight this championship is. And we are really now starting to get down to the end of this thing. When we were at our last race at Langley on the 16th, it's just another event. But you go forward, we had an off week for the Memorial Day weekend. Next thing you know, after tonight, only 4 races to go. Bristol, South Boston, Lanier, and New Smyrna, no more off weeks. So this is really, the home push here for all these guys that are fighting for that title.
It is, Evan, and every one of these races will be very, very important for these people here, that are just breathing on championship hopes right now. Like Ronald Henry and Christopher Hensley. You talked about them, both of them not here tonight. So those next 4 races going to be so important for them to show up to stay in this hunt. Kenny Morris and Matt Chinosky, they're not looking too bad in practice right now, and those guys have still got a shot to get up here in the top 5, top 3, and all they need is a good result tonight. With 4 races left, anything could happen here, Evan.
And the way that this season has gone, it probably will happen. The last 2 results, we've talked about how, when you talk about SK Racing, they're very aggressive. You need to be able to power these cars on the racetrack. You got to make power moves to be able to get the job done. Well, 2 drivers have been suspended 2 weeks in a row for late race contact, really coming on the white flag lap, or if not, the final caution flag really, really late, Sean. So that really stands to a point that these guys are aggressive, but once you put a checkered flag in front of them, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and, we're about to find out what's going to happen here tonight because practice just ended, and some pretty amazing times. The top 3 all under the 18.1, 3 of them there, Ernest. Going back to that, but the grid has been set, and we're getting ready to go to racing here as everybody gets in their cars and straps on their belts one last time. We're getting ready to go, Evan.
And we'll give you the GSRC starting grid on pole position via an 8th place result 2 weeks ago in Langley. It is Kenny Morris's 05 machine that's going to start on top of the board inside on row number 1. That machine going to lead us to the green flag. Outside him in 19, that's Philip Temple starting in 2nd.
Yeah, and starting in 3rd is going to be Donnie Moore. And just outside of him in 4th, the number 13 of Ryan Nuss.
41 of Tim Knott's going to roll from the inside of row 3. That's going to be the P5 starting spot for that number 41. And the number 21 of Matt Hoos in 6th.
And in 7th there, Ernest Brown in a number 8. Matt Shinowski starting in 8th outside there in a number 35.
Brian Neff, 2nd fastest in practice, finds his Winn-Dixie number 60 machine on the inside of row 5 in 9th. And outside shotgun on the top 10 is the 12 of Jeff Rudolph.
And here on the last row, Dennis Ellis in 11th, the number 7, and in 12th on the outside, Lowell Jewell in the number 55.
So the field rolls out of quarter number 4. We get set to go. A last-minute modification on the grid. Jeff Rudolph's number 12 machine was taken back to the pits, and he is not currently on the racetrack, and I do not see the 55 of Lowell Jewell is on the outside row. He'll actually be able to bump up a spot, so he'll assume the number 10 starting spot, and he'll be on the outside of row number 5. So 11 cars strong, 75 laps around this half-mile speedway as the pace car gets well and out of the way. 37.5 miles all the way through to the checkered flag and 75 laps to get the job done. Kenny Morris, though, in control of this field. Green flag flies with a big checkup on the outside lane. The Irwindale 75 is green, and powering goes Philip Temples. What a move, the 19 car.
Side by side through 2. Great racing here so far, everybody. Keeping it in check. Nobody laying the horn to anyone yet. Nice spacing getting around this track, going in back into turn 1 through 2. Everybody here still side by side, Evan.
Well, you talk about how there's multiple grooves right now. It looks like the top is the place to be because Kenny Morris got a 2-car length jump, but a green flag is sliding sideways, hangs on to it, but already falling back to 5th position down low. Philip Temples absolutely just drove around that 05 in 1 and 2 on the first lap. You can see the gap that 19 is starting to build down to the corner. Second on back is where there's traffic. Ryan Nuss, Tim Knott, and now Matt Hoos looks to the inside on the 41, trying to make something work because that bottom is so much more difficult to keep a constant speed, Sean. Sometimes you're going to see somebody try to pull a slide job, and that's when things can get very interesting side by side for P5.
Donnie Moore trying to make a move work on the outside around Kenny Morris. Been working on this 2 laps. Morris gets loose. Donnie Moore gets by, but Morris hangs on to that machine. Now he's got to fend off Ernest Brown on his tail. Ernest Brown right there and right with him, Brian Neff. Man, that's a battle right there going on for 7th and 6th place.
That Harley-Davidson 05, again, started P1 for an 8th place finish 1 week ago, has already slid to 6th and is still under the attack, and he'll try to make a move. I said slide job, it didn't work. He comes up, he gets into Donnie Moore, the 26, sideways, hangs on, clean and green, no caution, but that is exactly what you call a botch slide job. Tried to make the move and just pushed up the hill, he got into him.
Yeah, Donnie Moore, the recipient of that move, and Little bit of damage on that car. He slapped the wall pretty good, but as you said, the green flag stays out, and we're racing hard now.
So you said they were keeping the bumpers and they were keeping the horns off each other. They made it to lap 7, but now they're going at it. Now there's a fight for P4. Again, Matt Hoos, we know he's fast, was 4th fastest in the practice session. Won here, or again, last week, and trying to make a gambit the Jags machine, trying to get around the 41 at Tim Knott, but he can't do it. He continues to go to the inside on the Club Texas number 41, but he can't get the run he needs all the way down to the bottom yet again. But see, the 21's not committed to really going all in there and trying the slide job, and he just can't get the grip off the corner. We've seen him get sideways multiple times, and he'll have to settle for 4th right now. Meanwhile, goodbye to Philip Temples, the number 19, fastest in practice, and he's way in front.
Kenny Morris spins coming off of 4, and Donnie Moore gets back around him. Finally, Donnie Moore able to get back to him, make that move around him. Donnie Moore, damage not looking too bad on the right side. He is making his way back up through this field pretty quickly, Evan.
Kenny Moore is continuing to use the bottom because he's getting passed up high, and you swing wide to that outside wall, you got to give it a lot more wheel, and many of the time it just does not work. And exactly in that situation is what you're seeing. So he's gone all the way from the top of the pile to the bottom. He's 11th out of 11 cars as they run right now. Pretty close battle going on for P2. Ryan Nuss owns it in the 13. The 41 of Tim Knott trying to get there. Meanwhile, as Knott tries to hold off the constant attacks.
Ernest Brown just got spun around, coming off of 4. And the yellow flag is out, Evan.
Caution flag out. Pace car going to pick up the field, and that was just a simple case of contact. I don't know. We'll see the replay. They go down into 1 and 2. Brown is significantly in front of Brian Neff, and it looks like he had to check it up off the corner, and Neff just maybe taking the same line that he always did, just got into it. Not sure if that 8 over drove it, but he did lose some significant speed, and ended up he got sent around, spun it out, didn't go down to the inside wall. No additional damage except for the initial contact from each other, but that does put us under our first caution flag after what can be described, I think, fairly as a very hectic first stint in this race, and Philip Temple's 2.3 second gap. Say that goodbye, because now Ryan Nuss, Tim Knott, Hoos, Neff, Shadowski, and company, everybody going to be back up behind him, behind the pace car.
Ernest Brown had a really good run going there. He was holding off 4 cars behind him that were all trying to get that 5th position away from him. And it was the slightest bit of contact. And, as you said, it kind of looked like Ernest maybe started to drift up just a hair. But it was just enough contact there that it was able to spin him around. But fortunately, no damage. Ernest's going to get back in this thing. He's going to have to do it from 11th place, but I think his chances are good. But our leader, Philip Temples, he was enjoying that clean air. If he gets a nice jump on this restart, Evan, I have a feeling he may pull away again.
And again, he's up there not only because of the fact that he finished 7th last week's race, and the top 8 from the prior week get inverted. Everybody 9th on back is set by iRating, so that helped his cause, but it doesn't hurt that he's real fast, John. He wanted to sweep the board. If he finished 8th last week, he would have been able to, but was fastest in practice, started 2nd, but because he was on the outside, that gave him a huge advantage. Restart coming up as lights go on for the pace car. If this was a couple of weeks ago, he may be in a bad spot, but because we are single file restart, no doubt that the 19 going to be the control car on this one. Nuss, Knott, Hoos, and Neff all the way through the top 5, and he gets a little bit of a fake out there on the 13 on the loud pedal, back at green flag conditions, down to quarter 1, lap 17. All 11 drivers still on the lead lap, but single file restart.
Well, I would say that was a pretty good start by Philip Temples, already opening a gap on Ryan Nuss there. And Nuss runs a little high on the turn there. Temples still on the pedal and starting to pull away even more there as they come across the stripe, Evan.
Already half a second and counting. Nuss, Knott, and again, Matt Hoos, we have seen the 21 at least appear to be faster than the 41 of Tim Knott in front of him. Goes to the bottom, but he's not committed to going all in, as I say, and throw it to the bottom and try to slide up in front of them. He's trying to get the run off the corner. It's just not working down low. Great battle, not only for that spot, but for second as well, because Tim Knott, he wants around Ryan Nuss. Takes a peek to the inside, going to go side by side for P2, down to quarter 3. But again, the bottom slides up the hill. Real close that time by out of 4. Nothing going to change this time. Still battle, though, 2nd through 4th within 2 tenths.
Temple's just really keeping that car where the rubber is on the track. You'll see every lap he's keeping it right down there. Everybody behind him trying, have a tendency to drift up and take that higher line. And I think that's why Temples is just keeps opening it up on everybody, is he's found the speed down low on this track that nobody else has been able to find yet, Evan.
You look on board, Matt Hoos looking up in front of him is the back bumper of Tim Knott's machine, and the leader almost out of his frame as they continue to go at it. Now 2 cars going to slide high, a little bit of an overshoot there for Tim Knott. Matt's going to get stuck behind him. Down low goes Brian Neff. The number 60 Winn-Dixie machine started this race back in 9th, already up to 5th. He was 2nd on the boards in practice. But keep it side by side to 3 and 4.
Neff fighting with Hoos right now. Quite about, we see Johnny Moore got checked up back there. Lost a little bit of speed. He is still okay, though. He's under power. He's right now, Dennis Ellis working around the outside of him.
We'll see if this number 60 can use the 41 as a pick, because so far tonight, again, it has been the outside as the place to be, but we haven't seen anybody be able to stick on somebody's door down low for as long as, to this point, Brian Neff has. Do we go 3 wide? Small bobble by both the 60 and the 21 coming off a quarter 2, and eventually here, Matt Hoos is going to get tired of sitting behind Tim Knott if he is indeed faster of him, but right now the 41 pulls about 1.5 car lengths, 2 maybe of gap down to 1. It looked like that Tim Knott's machine is really starting to slide up the hill, losing the grip on those Hoosier Racing tires, and now they will single file up for the moment. Brian Neff, valiant effort, kept her side by side for 4 laps, nothing comes of it, and now Lowell Jewell in search of a second win this year. That number 55 machine trying to make up some ground, thought about going to the inside of Matt Shadowski. That would be a battle for P6. They single file it out in the corner, and looks like the 55 may have company behind him with Dennis Ellis.
Neff was driving it pretty hard down there low, and really just probably needed to cool off those tires a little bit by getting in line and running the higher line for just a little bit there. He was driving that car hard for a good 10, 12 laps right there after that caution, and now that car is starting to come back to him a little bit as we see him on the bumper now of Matt Hoos. Really good battle going there between Neff, Hoos, and Knott. And right behind him there, Shinosky has got his eyes set on catching up to that group. And can't forget about Lowell Jewell there. He's right in this thing, Evan.
That machine, again, he tried to go around the 35, and sometimes that puts yourself in a vulnerable position, and as soon as he was unable to complete the pass, somebody tried to do it on him. How about the fight for P3? Back at it once again. This time, it's not Neff who's out of line. The 21 giving it another shot. Matt Hoos went down low in 1 and 2, now back down to corner 3, single filed out for the moment. But, it's almost at the point, Sean, where I do feel like they may be a little bit faster than Tim Knott, who started this race in 5th, has done a great job to pick up 2 spots to sit in 3rd as they go right now. The 41 just doesn't have the lateral grip. That car is sliding up the hill, but they're not extremely faster than him to the point where it's easy to make the pass. You have seen Matt Hoos try it all race long, back down to the bottom at a quarter, number 4. Going to go side by side for 3rd.
Yeah, he going side by side for sure, but not making it stick up top there, doing a really good job. They are side by side with Hoos just a little bit of the nose ahead of him as they come off the turn here. It's a drag race across the line, and we see Tim Knott hold on to his position. They are still running it side by side, and right there just with the best seat in the house, Brian Neff.
I'll tell you get a lot more of a run going to those straightaways coming off of 12 degrees of banking than 6, and that's what you see. The 21 a little bit better in the center of the quarter, maybe contact there, very close down to quarter 1, but the 41's advantage comes off, but he'll get clear. You see slide up, he's got to shut the door on him. Do we see a crossover? Yes, to the bottom goes Tim Knott. Splits the gap between the 21 and the 60. Not going to work out at a quarter, number 4, but he was not about to give that one up. Matt Hoos takes over P3. Tim Knott slides to 4th, and now we see what Brian Neff does.
I just realized we have a grammar problem with the word not. Anyway, that was my attempt at a joke. Sorry, we get back to the racing action on the track, Evan.
It was an inadvertent pun. It was an inadvertent pun as he was getting back there. Now we see the 60 of Brian Neff, Matt Shinosky behind him. They're single file and their speeds are so similar, but it's typically at this point in the race because of our fielded version, Sean, where you see guys try to balance out and find where they belong to be in line. And that's what we're seeing right now, where you're not blowing the guy out of the water. You see side by side again, Tim Knott, who's still up from where he started, but he's not having an easy time.
Well,
in front of them now, Matt Hoos trying to get around Ryan Nuss. He'll do that for second.
Yeah, well, Matt Hoos just blasted right past him there to take that position. He's around. He's around.
Matt Hoos, who just got up to second place, the Jegs number 21 machine, turned around in corner number 2. Caution flag is out, and I don't know how you mark that one up other than he got turned.
And Ryan Nuss, sitting down there, got run over by the virtual race car, the virtual pace car.
Well, I'm waiting for one of these days for that pace car to be a solid object, and then things are going to get really, really interesting on track. But the 13 turned that 21. The 41 got into the back of the 13. The 60 got into the side of the 21. I think everybody that was secondary contact in that is okay. Not sure how Matt Hoos's machine is going to handle. He is now P10 on the racetrack behind the pace car in a spot to get a wave by, so did not fall off of the lead lap, but he got hit when he was sideways, square in the left rear, and that could have easily done some suspension damage. Everybody else, I think that push bar might have saved them from making it a lot worse, but essentially a 4-car incident down to corner 1, and we saw how tight they were racing all the way really since our first caution flag, that whole stint going at it, and just it takes a little bit of contact, very similar to our first incident, same spot at the racetrack, and there's not a whole lot of places to go for everybody behind them.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we've seen a couple of really good runs in this race so far, and I'm seeing Matt Hoos. He's coming into the pits. It looks like he may have really suffered some suspension damage and needs to bring it down. So that's a tough break for Matt Hoos after being up front there. But we talked about the details of that wreck, and it doesn't take much contact, and unfortunately, it put us where we're at. But we're halfway through this race now, Evan, and we're going to reshuffle this field here a little bit, and Philip Temples is really just proven to be the class of the field so far. He seems to be making that groove work like we talked about earlier, and as long as he can again get a great restart here, he stands to really be back in the same position.
So there's good news and there's bad news for the 21 of Matt Hoos. When you come down pit road at only 25 miles an hour and it really goes around the entire interior of the racetrack, you're going to lose a lap. So the good news is he got a new machine. He got that one quick fix that is available via league rules. So he's got a brand new machine. Problem is now he finds himself one lap in the negatives. When the lights go on for the pace car, maybe the next time by, we do have one car that is not off of the lead lap. Technically is the last car on it as he is in front of Philip Temples. That's Ryan Nuss, his number 13, was involved in that contact. He'll get a wave by, join us back up, but so far tonight, Matt Hoos having to come down and get the quick fix will remain the only car off of the lead lap.
Yeah, it's been a great race, Evan. I mean, we're seeing some just really brutally fast laps being laid down here. Cars all over the track running. Everybody, we talked about before the race, so the progressive banking leading to different lines going around this track. We've seen 2-3 wide racing here. It's been very generous, the racing so far. Only 2 caution flags. We're past the halfway point as the pace car is off into the pits, Evan.
The 2 cars that were P1 and P2 in practice have now found each other, P1 and P2 on the racetrack. Philip Temples, control car to quarter number 4. Third American Ethanol restart at the Irwindale Speedway. Back down to quarter number 1. Second caution has now been closed off. And Brian Neff finally fighting through the field. He's passed 7 cars to get the second. He was 4/100 slower than that 19 of Philip Temples on their best lap in practice. Does that Winn-Dixie 60 have anything for Temples? Because so far, the 19 is at a very easy ride up at the front of the field. It's 4/10 the first time by between the top 2.
Well, Matt Hoos really off pace right now. I think there was more damage to that car than we actually knew because he's just all the way back there right now. The car just doesn't look to be fast like it was. So Matt Hoos, a real loser in that whole deal. But the rest of the field right now in line and getting around this track pretty fast as we're getting ready to, we've just clipped off lap 45, only 25 laps to go, Evan.
Yeah, really coming down to the end of this thing very quickly. Could very well be the final green flag stint. And, well, the answer to that question we posed earlier, maybe no, because now 7.5 tenths of a second in the bag. for Philip Temples, who has dominated this race, and he's led every single lap so far. Although he started second, it was so key. And again, we talked about the rule change with these restarts going from double file to single file, Sean. When he was leading, we got the first caution. That streak of leading every single lap may have been broken because he would have been down low. That was one of the major issues that we saw at the beginning of the race for Kenny Morris. He has continued to slide back, now making his way back forward. That 05 is up to 7th, but the outside, no doubt the place to be. The single file restarts have allowed him to pick and choose the lane he wants, and he is continuing to really put on a clinic now, a second to the good. Meanwhile, Brian Neff might have to keep an eye in the rear view mirror. The 41 of Tim Knott not falling off.
Donnie Moore keeps trying to pull off a move on Dennis Ellis right now. Can't seem to make it work. He's got to worry now about Kenny Morris behind him. Donnie Moore been fighting all up and down this field tonight. Just can't seem to get a break right now. He is starting to lose a little bit of position to Ellis, as we see Ellis now start to work on the back bumper of Lowell Jewell.
Lowell was continuing to move up, started in 12th. He's our biggest mover so far, up almost 8 positions to 4th right now. Another biggest mover right behind him. Dennis Ellis up 6 spots after starting 11th. Those guys run, and contact at 55 of Lowell Jewell. I was going to say they run 4th and 5th respectively. Lowell got into the outside wall, the defending series champion, and he'll hang on. Saw a lot of white smoke. It may have just been from the rubber getting up against the outside of retaining wall. Doesn't look like there's a lot of damage. The 7 immediately went to the bottom to try to make a move on him, and a power move on the outside allows the 55 to maintain P4, but it just shows you right there how close they're cutting the corners.
Ellis is really working on him right now, Evan. Really working on him, trying to just get around Lowell there, and Lowell having a really nice run off the turns, actually. He's getting to that loud pedal quick, and that car is just sticking, man, like glue, and a lot of power through the short straights here. Lowell Jewell looking really good, doing a good job at defending himself against Dennis Ellis, who is working awfully hard there to try and get around him.
Jeff Rudolph, the 12th place car that never did hit the initial start of the race.
Morris is spinning it. And
he's facing the wrong way. Caution.
And he got into somebody. I'm trying to go back and see who it was here real quick.
Looks like he was fighting with Donnie Moore and just got a little bit sideways. That's exactly... and he came up, and that was a huge hit for Matt Shadowski. That car heavily torn up also.
Yeah, and he got Donnie Moore, too.
And we were just talking about how Kenny was struggling earlier in this race after starting on pole, and we were talking about how loose he was in 4. This is the second time tonight that he's had an issue in quarter number 4. A couple of times he's gotten sideways. This time it goes around and in wrong place at the wrong time for those drivers that you saw try to sneak through that one and picked up a little bit of damage in that exchange. That slows us down once again, and I want to say, Sean, that this gives Brian Neff, Tim Knott, Lowell Jewell, everybody else inside the top 5, another shot at Philip Temples. But if we're being realistic, the 19 has not showed any signs of slowing down. He got 2 seconds away in that short stint the last time.
Yeah, he did. And Philip, I said the class of the field before. He's really been, the restarts have been just great by him, and that's where he seems to really open it up, and he enjoys that clean air. He has a very specific line. He likes to run around this track. It's a fast line. He's made it work. He gets great grip, and is looking really, really strong tonight. He's going to be really hard to beat, and I just don't know if the other guys have shown enough to get around him. Or to even, they've got to get to him first, and then getting around him, that's a whole nother story. I just don't know with the line he's been running. I don't know if you're going to be able to pull that move off, and unless you've been holding something back and keeping something close to your vest this whole race.
So Kenny Morris, who goes around, he's able to stay on the lead lap. He'll pick up a spot over Ryan Nuss. Matt Hoos remains as the only car 1 lap down. Matt Shadowski's night may very well be done. That number 35 MAV TV American Real entry is down on pit road, and I believe he is still behind the wheel in that car, but does not look like he's coming out. And he's currently waiting for the virtual tow to be completed. He made heavy contact with the outside wall and may have even lost the engine, if not totaled the suspension on that car. Came to a rest up against the turn 1 wall, took the virtual tow, so he's going to have a little bit of a delay, maybe 2-3 minutes of penalty before he's allowed to work on that car. But effectively now already 4 laps down. that team's night would come to a close. The point that I was going to make before all chaos broke loose on the front straightaway, Jeff Rudolph, we did have 12 cars scheduled to start. 11 took the green flag. Looks like the 12 machine may be working with a connection issue with inside of the sim. He did hit the track and he did complete 9 laps, but is now back off. He's 50 laps down in 12th, but now officially all 12 of them did hit the track.
Yeah, another strong field for the bootleggers tonight. And, I'm going to go back to what we said on, just before the last restart. We've seen a great race here, and these last remaining laps here in this race, we're going to get going again with about 12 laps left. I'm sorry, 13 laps left. They're going to be real exciting as the pace car peels off, Evan.
It is going to be a 13-14 lap to go restart right in that ballpark. The pace car down and away could be for the final time tonight. The Jack Daniels, number 19, Philip Temples, back on the loud pedal. Green flag flies once again at the Irwindale Speedway. A great jump once again. The 19, 3 car lengths to the good down in the corner. Nobody yet trying things drastic. Way up the hill goes Kenny Morris. I told you he stayed on the lead lap, but obviously that machine is torn up. He's riding the fence.
Yeah, Kenny Morris's car is definitely off pace. He is effectively, I think, out of this race. But we're seeing a nice battle up front here. Tim Knott working on Brian Neff, and Temple's just opening up a little bit. But Neff and Knott are going at it right now. And Knott is just does the crossover and makes it inside of Neff. And can he make it work as they get to turn 1? And I think he's going to pull it off there, Evan.
Beautiful move. He didn't go all the way to the bottom. He took the line away that Brian Neff wanted, Sean. He rode up on the left side of that number 60 machine, so he was not down at a disadvantage and came up just as he got clear off the corner. And an excellent move by Tim Knott puts the number 41 machine back up to P2. The Club Texas machine, now he gets sideways off the corner. That allows Brian Neff to catch right back up. How about Lowell Jewell may get a podium? That number 55 continues to close.
Lowell's hungry, man. He is closing, too. He's coming quick. Knott better watch out. He's up there up top, and so's Lowell, and Lowell is coming quick, baby. Can't forget about Neff down there on that low line. Can he keep it down there and make it stick? So far, so good.
He's at the left rear, going to fall off at a 4 on the straightaway. Neff needs to be careful because if he commits to the bottom, Sean, he can't get the job done. And Lowell Jewell and company as well. He's got Dennis Ellis with him. Those 2 cars get on the high side at the 60. Neff may even fall from 3rd, trying to get 2nd, back to maybe 5th or even worse. But he is all over the back bumper. Not going to give it up anytime soon on Tim. Not that time, but 8 laps to go. And still sailing off into the Irwindale sunset is Philip Temples. He's a 2nd plus to the good. The battle, though, 2nd through 5th on track. Only 7/10 of a second separate these 4.
They fight. Temple cruises, man. That's exactly what's going on here, though. Not doing a bad job. He's trying to close in on Temple's. And right now, Temple's not opening it up as much distance as he was. It looks like Knott's actually picking up just a little bit of ground on him. This could get interesting, Evan.
6 to go. Going to be 5 to go this next time by. Is Philip Temple slowing? Did he maybe use up the tires, or is he just not pushing the car because he knows he has a gap to work with late in this race? At this point, a caution flag would most likely end the race under yellow flag conditions. 5 laps to go at the start-finish line for Philip Temple's. The gap down to 7/10 of a second. Here comes Tim Knott. What's going on with the 19?
Oh, Lowell Jewell is around. Lowell Jewell is around, and the caution flag is out.
Just as we start to talk about the possibility of Tim Knott closing in, trouble finds the 55 of Lowell Jewell. I think he just missed his mark there in the corner, the slightest bit, Sean. Typically, you'll see these guys riding on that white hash mark. You see the 55 was well above it, and when he tried to come back down, the 7 machine was there. The 8 knew what was going on. They would have been 3 wide. Ernest Brown tucked in line, and Dennis Ellis ends up trying to slide into a spot that maybe if it was lap 11 wouldn't have been smart, but on lap 71, I don't think you can expect to ask somebody inside the top 5 to just back off for somebody. He went for it, and unfortunately, contact sends Lowell Jewell around, and I guess that's unfortunate news for the 55 team, but it's good news for Philip Temples' team because that gap was closing by 0.2 of a second or so, Sean. 0.2 every single time around. it would have made it close at the end. And again, I'm not sure if he caught the wall, I'm not sure if he was losing the tires or something, or he was just using the gap and taking it easy to the end. But Tim Knott saw a slight glimmer of hope, and that's going to be shut door from this caution flag that'll end it under yellow.
Man, I think Tim Knott had a chance, man. He was starting to close on him. Tough break for Lowell. I don't think Lowell's going to be too upset about that when he sees the replay. Just a racing deal right there, and really unfortunate to end like that for him tonight. Lowell had a really nice run going, had a chance at a podium finish there, and bad spot for a racing deal like that to happen, and shame his night went south. But Philip Temple's really exposed everybody here tonight. Philip Temple's having a nice run from second place, starting on the outside, manages to keep that car up front all night, and Philip Temple's, it looks like, is going to walk away our winner tonight. Can't discount the night that Tim Knott had, and even Brian Neff. Really good job here by our top five, especially the top four. Ellis coming all the way from 11th place to finish 4th place tonight.
He leads every single lap after starting in second. The checker and yellow flag fly across the flag stand here. Philip Temples takes home checkered flag 7 on the season. He is your winner in the Irwindale 75 over top of Tim Knott, Brian Neff, Dennis Ellis, and Ernest Brown. Talk real quick championship picture, Sean. Donnie Moore, Matt Hoos, Ryan Ness. Well, Moore and Nuss chase Hoos in the championship. They entered 2 points behind him. That's going to be exactly the same because those drivers who finished 6th through 8th all going to walk away with the same amount of points, a tally of 8. So nothing major going on to top the championship tonight.
None. It was a chance. There was a chance for some guys to really make up some significant ground. It didn't just quite work out, but good win for Temples tonight. Just a great race. Really fast track. Love the progressive banking here and the ability to run all over this track. It really it lends to a really unique brand of racing that I think is just a lot of fun for the fans to watch. And tonight we got a good victory by a really fast driver tonight. And congratulations to Philip Temples.
Well, he burns it down and celebrates in front of the Irwindale faithful. Your winner tonight at Irwindale Event Center's Irwindale Speedway, taking on the checkered flag in nothing short of dominating faction. We're going to step away for a moment, come back to Irwindale, California, the post-race show on the Global Sim Racing channel in just a moment. We'll talk to Philip Temples in Victory Lane, the rest of the top 3, and get you set. Thunder Valley next week. A lot more to come. Stay tuned. Back live in Irwindale, California at the Irwindale Event Center's Irwindale Speedway after 75 laps in the Irwindale 75 for round 7 of 11 on the 2015 Season 2 Championship with the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series on the Global Sim Racing channel. It is Philip Temples who dominates the Floridian, leading every single lap tonight en route to a checkered flag in the 7th race on the year. Tim Knott comes home in second in a spirited battle as this one ended under a caution flag. Brian Neff came home third. It was a 4th place for Dennis Ellis, and Ernest Brown rounded out our top 5.
And Donnie Moore brings it home in 6th. Rough night for Donnie. He was all over the field tonight. Matt Hoos winds up with a 7th place finish, overcomes a little bit of trouble to bring it up to 7th. Ryan Nuss in 8th. He also overcomes some trouble to bring it in 8th. Lowell Jewell there we saw, unfortunately, falls back to 9th after that last spin. Kenny Morris rounds out the top 10 there in 10th, and Matt Shinowski in 11th, 20 laps down, and Jeff Rudolph rounds out the field. He had his connection issues. Finishes 12th tonight, Evan.
It was an eventful night for everybody in the field, and to get our post-race festivities get kicked off, I've caught up on the pit lane with the driver of the number 60 Winn-Dixie entry. That is Brian Neff. Brian, 9th to 3rd sounds quite eventful, and it was. You were the second fastest car in practice, so we expected that machine to make quick work through the field. You got up there, and it's got really interesting there late. Had a couple of battles. You come home on the podium. How was it for you guys?
That was a great race tonight. Winn-Dixie Ford had quite a push there at the end. Tim was able to get around me, but really good race tonight.
Irwindale is always very interesting with the progressive banking. We saw it was very difficult to try to make a pass at the start of this one. Everybody that started down low pretty much got freight trained by the high side. The bottom is the quicker way around, but that's only got 6 degrees of banking. We got 12 up high. It seemed like a lot of guys were trying to go down low, and if you weren't going to pull a complete dive bomb and try to slide job the guy, it was very, very hard to pass. How did you manage to pass 6 guys total? I know you got up to second at one point, but how were you able to find a way to get through the field?
Just trying to use that bottom line a little bit and crush them. You just had to be really careful so you didn't come up and get into them coming off, you know.
A much better result for you in this event as opposed to the late model event earlier on in the evening. You guys got a podium. We're starting to get down to the end of the season. 4 races to go, excluding tonight's event. 1 week's time, though, we're going to be at the Bristol Motor Speedway, Thunder Valley. You looking forward to that one, or is it going to be a little bit tricky for you guys?
Oh, no, it should be a really good race. I expect the high line to be where it's at from mid to high, and I think it'll be a pretty good race as long as people aren't loose off.
Well, that's another one of the conditions that we saw tonight was a lot of guys struggling with the handling down on the bottom. You guys, though, fight through it. You come home with a 3rd place after passing 6 cars from where you started. Brian, any sponsors or shout-outs you want to give a shout-out to real quick?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank my buddy Ron Henry for running my Winn-Dixie Ford last week. He helped me out with my sponsors. Found out yesterday he's got his sponsor back for next week. So all's good. I'd like to thank Lowell and Matt at BRL and you guys for broadcasting the races every week. I really enjoy watching after, and I think you do a really good job.
We enjoy watching the action you guys put out on the track. Brian, thanks for talking with us. And congrats on the top 3, and we'll see you in Tennessee next weekend.
All righty, thanks a lot, guys.
Don, for the 2nd time in a row, it is a Winn-Dixie entry that ends up on the podium. Brian Neff walks away with a 3rd. You've caught up with the driver, though, that was starting to play jaws there at the end. He comes home 2nd. You're with Tim Knott.
Tim Knott, what a run, man. What a spirited battle there with Neff at the end. How you feeling right now, buddy?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. That was a good run. A good starting spot always helps.
Yeah, that was a pretty tremendous run for you there tonight. A lot of action late, and just really a lot of hard racing all throughout the night. What really worked for you tonight?
Just keeping it up high. That was the only line I could work. You could go down low on the restarts, but that only worked for a couple laps, and you had to get back to the top and just ride it out.
Those tires seem to go away pretty quick if you don't take a little break on them there every couple of laps or so.
Yeah, I learned that in the or in the late model race, just to take it easy on the tires the whole race, and they'd be there at the end.
Well, do you have any special sponsors, family, or friends you'd like to give a shout out to at this point?
Yeah, I need to thank my old longtime sponsor, Century 21, Mike Bowman, and the Western Coach Classic Cars, and my Penske Truck Rentals. They helped me out a lot, and Penske Shocks. And last but not least, my smoking hot wife, Tammy, for putting up with my racing for 30 years.
Yes, well, shout out to Tammy there. Congratulations to you, Tim. How do you think your chances will go there at Bristol next week?
I like Bristol. Those tracks are fun. The faster, the better.
Well, we'll see you there. And hey, again, great run tonight. Congratulations to you, and good luck getting to Bristol, buddy.
Thank you again, guys. It was fun.
And Evan now has got with our leader and winner of the race, Philip Temples. As we go to Evan now, and Philip.
It would have been a clean sweep of the board if he was just a little bit slower last week. Via P7, he starts in second but leads every single lap tonight. Philip Temples, in dominating fashion, takes home the Irwindale 75. Philip, first off, congratulations. I guess you found the place that worked. We saw guys back in the pack scrapping. They were struggling to get the handle, but that number 19 was dialed in.
Yeah, it sure was. We were just kind of on cruise control.
Now, you guys did the race before this. You as well participated in the Crooksteel Late Model Series event, came home with a P5 in that one. It's a question that gets thrown around if you're talking NASCAR competition. You know, you got a Cup guy in the Xfinity Series or so on and so forth. Did you guys learn anything in that event that you could bring forward to this, or was it just to kind of get yourself warmed up?
Yeah, I actually learned a lot. I led 50 laps of that and got a little bit loose in a tap, and I couldn't save it, but and that led to the 5th place finish. But I made adjustments to this car, and it was a lot better than the late model.
And it looked like it was on a rail tonight. At the start of the race, you were on the outside, and that's the place that you rode when you were up front there, and you got to the top spot at a corner 2. You never looked back. We saw Tim was starting to close in on you there at the end. Was that the car going away a little bit, or were you just taking it easy, making sure you worked that gap to the end?
Yeah, I was taking it easy. That car had another 10th in it at least, and like I said, most of the night I just rode around on cruise. It was a good piece. It was a very good car.
Well, I'll tell you, when you put these aggressive race cars like these SKs out there at Irwindale, a very difficult track to tame, it's no easy job to lead laps, if not win it, but it's pretty darn hard to lead all of them and get the job done. That's exactly what you guys did tonight. Looking to keep this momentum rolling. We got a track that may be a little bit similar in the fact that the high side may be the place to be. We're going to be at the Bristol Motor Speedway next week at Thunder Valley. Are we going to see the 19 go 2 for 2?
I don't know. Bristol's a tough place for me. I've never really run all that well there. I'm hoping to get into the top 5 and just take what they give me.
Well, you worked with that P2 that you were given tonight from last week's result, and you worked it to perfection. You're the winner tonight. You take home the checker and the Irwindale 75. Sponsors and shout-outs, all those good people. Who behind the scenes powers that number 19?
Well, it's a very short list. The new sponsor come on board, and they should be with me for the rest of the year. And I'd like to thank my wife and kids for putting up with me doing this, and Matt and Lowell for giving us a place to race.
Well, you dominated this one tonight. Again, congratulations, Philip, on a dominating performance, and best of luck. We'll see you next week in Bristol.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
You as well, Philip. That's your winner tonight, Sean Ambrose. It said it all. You led every single lap at Irwindale. Irwindale's a hard track, all right? We talked about the progressive banking. If somebody leads every single lap at Bristol, I don't know if I'll be able to keep it together because that's almost near impossible.
Yeah, well, Bristol's going to be a lot of fun, man, because you could really nail it there, and if you've got a car that can handle well in that fast, low groove there, you're gonna really set yourself apart from the field. Hey, you could go wire to wire at Bristol if you've got the skill to handle it, man. That's going to be a fun race next week. But we've had a fun one tonight, and again, congratulations to Philip Temples. he sounded like he was really excited to win this one tonight, and hats off to him. He did a great job getting around here tonight.
And a clean race as well, just about 3. I think the last one made it 4 cautions total on this one. What I was going to do, Sean, is I was about to wager a bet if somebody was to lead every single lap at Bristol. But then I remember we talked about at the beginning of this how, crazy things can happen. We talked about the points. For the first time in a while, nothing major at the top of the points. But I would put leading every single lap against this kind of field of competition something wild. So we saw that tonight. So I'm not going to place any bets, and I'm not going to put myself on the betting table. But I mean, Bristol's such an iconic racetrack. You combine that with one of the most iconic short track racing cars known to man, and I can't wait to get to next Saturday night.
Thunder Valley will be jumping, baby. I can't wait to get there, and can't wait to put a bow on this race. It was a great one, and these guys have just got to be really proud of what they're doing here week in, week out here. The bootleggers are running strong on Saturday nights here on GSRC, and saw a great one tonight. We're going to see a great one next week, Evan.
I pray that it's going to be under the lights. A short track Saturday night in Thunder Valley would be absolutely perfect. But until then, this Saturday night goes in the books after a evening event here at the Irwindale Speedway. Again, Philip Temples finishes atop the pile. You heard who all the drivers had to thank, all the sponsors on their cars who allow them to compete in this, and they all thank Lowell Jewell. Will do the same as well for making this league possible. Everybody else on the Bootleg Racing League administration team. Also need to thank the people that make things possible on our end of things as well. First off, iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations for providing us with such a great platform to do all of this on. XSplit, as well as the Audio Technica Corporation and Aver Media USA. All the camera sets you saw tonight provided as always by Dougie Beard, and our music provided by Eric Ekholm. You can stay up to date with the Global Sim Racing channel online at globalsimracingchannel.com, through our Twitter at GSR channel, or through Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing channel. And if you're a fan of racing at any kind, Sean, there's a lot coming up in the next 7 days.
Man, this week there sure is on the Global Sim Racing channel. You will see tomorrow at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Pac Majors Round 5 of their IndyCar Series at Indianapolis. 500 miles of racing tomorrow night here on GSRC. On Monday, June the 1st at 9:15 Eastern Time, the Audubon Motor Corp Group brings you the AMG Sports Car Challenge Round 4 at Virginia International Raceway. And on Wednesday, the return of the American Sim Racing Series at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, AMSOIL Truck Series Round 9 at The Rock, Rockingham. And on Wednesday, also at 10:30 Eastern, just a little bit later, an hour and a half, the Lionheart Racing Series returns, Round 17 at Kansas. That will be an exciting one. Join us then. And then rounding out the week on Saturday, June 6th at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the return of the MX-5 World Tour Series, Round 11 at the Twin Ring Motegi. Evan, where are we going with the bootleggers next? I know we talked about it just a moment ago.
The anticipation is ready to rock and roll. I know we're going to one of my favorite short tracks of all time, New Smyrna, for the season finale. We've seen some darn good ones. We started at Martinsville, but we are going to be in Thunder Valley, baby, Bristol, Tennessee next week for Round 8 from the Bristol Motor Speedway. That's Saturday, June the 6th, 9 o'clock Eastern and 6 o'clock Pacific time, only on GSRC. For all of the events coming up in the next 7 days, you saw those as well on the screen. Some extended forecast, we'll call it, for that. Again, the entire schedule and all that. Find us again through the website, Facebook, social media, all that good stuff to stay up to date. And you're not going to want to miss, though, the Thunder Valley 75 next Saturday night. Until then, on behalf of our crew tonight, myself, Evan Posoko, Sean Ambrose for joining me up here in the box, and Joe Peak for directing and making the cameras roll and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations to Philip Temples, your winner in the Irwindale 75. We'll see you next week in Thunder Valley.